You are listening to Reinvented with Jen Eckhart. I'm your host, Jen Eckhart, and words cannot even begin to describe how excited and empowered I am to welcome my next guest. You may recognize her from her many appearances on magazine covers, from Sports Illustrated to Cosmopolitan to Vogue magazine. But these days, you'll see her, at least more recently, on the cover of Forbes as CEO of Kathy Ireland Worldwide. She's a hero of mine. She's one of the richest self-made women in the world. Kathy Ireland, welcome to Reinvented.
Jen, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you today. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here. Now, I know I told you this before we started recording, but I really wanted to invite you on the show. And I want my viewers and listeners to know this because you fit the theme of reinvention to a T. Like when I think of reinvention, I think Kathy Ireland, because you've done it all. In fact, when I first started booking people to come on the show, you were at the tippy top of that list because of how many hats you wear and how many roles you juggle. You're doing a juggling act.
I have to tell you, I love the title of your show. Constant reinvention. It's critical. If we're not able to pivot and not just react to change is a constant, but initiate change, we stagnate, and that is not a good thing because then we just go away. So I love your show. I love the concept of it. I
like it too.
It's awesome. And it's such an important message. So I'm so grateful.
So for those who aren't familiar with you and your profile, let me give them a brief overview. To my male listeners who are admirers, she was probably the woman you had pinned up on your walls on a poster, right? And to everyone else, people like me, she's what I like to call hashtag goals, right? Kathy was a supermodel in the 1980s and the 1990s, best known for appearing in 13 consecutive Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues, but it didn't stop there. In 1993, she founded a brand marketing company, Kathy Ireland Worldwide, which has made her one of the wealthiest former models in the world. Kathy, you are a supermodel and actress turned author, designer, entrepreneur, and CEO. You also just launched your very own record label. Out of all the roles I just mentioned, which do you enjoy the most and why?
Of all the roles and the work that I'm privileged to do, being a mom is the top. And I think, Jen,
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say mom.
Yes. And I think I get frustrated sometimes. I'll talk to moms who that is their sole career. And they'll say, oh, I don't work. It's like, are you kidding me? And I think in our society, because a paycheck isn't attached, that the career of mom doesn't always get the respect that it so deserves. Nothing's harder or more important.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that you just said that. That's so important. And I think that's an important message to convey to working moms out there who, feel guilty about going to a 9-to-5 job because they want to work, but they also want to be a parent. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think you do that juggling act, like I said earlier, so well and so eloquently.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And Jen, I was 40 before I recognized that no is a complete sentence. No, thank you is better, but no works. And oftentimes we have to say no to good things in order to say yes to great things. And people have asked me, well, how do you have it all? And I don't. I mean,
I kind of do, but Continue.
I think at every season of life, we have to prioritize our time and figure out, I encourage people, figure out what your values are, your priorities, put boundaries in place to protect them because they will be challenged. Absolutely. And for me, my priorities are my faith, my family, and then being of service through our work. And when those boundaries are not honored, I'm a disaster and I'm not effective at anything. And so it means that I can't accept every business opportunity. I can't attend every friend's birthday, but I'm honoring my priorities, and at every season of life, they shift, and there's certain priorities that will change, and you'll have more time in certain areas. But to try to do everything all at once, it's just too much pressure. I can't do it.
And you can't please everybody, right? That's the recipe for
failure. And you
failure.
don't want to, you don't.
Absolutely. Well, Kathy, I've always admired you because you strike me as the kind of woman that doesn't settle, right? You don't stay in place for very long. And I'm kind of wired the same way, but from the runway to the boardroom and beyond, I want to know, to what do you attribute as the driving force behind being able to constantly reinvent yourself?
Something that really takes away a lot of the fear is it was the greatest gift of my long ago modeling career. And I didn't appreciate it at the time, but all the rejection. So when we started out in business and people said no, laughed in our faces, that didn't stop me. And so knowing that we're always going to need to pivot, to change, to reinvent, no matter what people say, I think not worrying about other people's opinion, that's been critical. And of course, my faith drives that, because that if he's with us, who can be against us? And that's been absolutely critical.
I love that. Well, from supermodel to business mogul, your business empire is valued at more than $2 billion. And your personal net worth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, according to Forbes, is approximately around 500 million. And what's so interesting to me about this, Kathy, is that it all started with a pair of socks. You started a line of socks that sold at Kmart in 1993 when I was 3 years old. And your business has since expanded to include furniture, fashion, jewelry, children's books, more than 17,000 articles, everything from home to personal use. How does all of that come from a pair of socks? Like, were they magic socks? How does that work?
They were awesome socks, Jen. And John and Marilyn Moretz out of North Carolina, our very first partners. They are still in our business family today. We just love them. And it started with a single pair of socks. I was an aging pregnant model at my kitchen table. And I was actually offered to model those pair of socks. And today we've grown that. Our partners are Mucklucks, and the socks are amazing. But it was that was our foundation, and knowing that the brand would grow from there. It's Kathy Ireland Worldwide. It's lowercase k, lowercase I. It's not about me. It's about our customer. But the worldwide was intentional because we didn't want to have limits on this brand. And that was important. And I was okay as a model, but Jen, by the time this sock business started, I mean, it was just the jobs were not coming. That career was really fading. And I wanted to start something that was not dependent upon any little smidgen of celebrity I might have had in the last century. Socks felt like a good foundation.
That's a good sock. Coming out with a pair of socks, that's like probably the last thing people expected you to do. And it's just so different and unique and fun. And I guess you're doing okay because your business is worth around 2 billion. So there's that, but what a story. When I hear a story like that, I think of another brilliant businesswoman and role model of mine, Sarah Blakely.
Oh, I love Sarah.
Failed the LSAT twice, went door to door selling fax machines before inventing Spanx, which I know is every woman's best friend, no matter what size you are. And Wall Street now values Spanx at approximately 1 billion, which is just, I feel like there's a lot of similarities between your stories. So to any young aspiring entrepreneurs out there, Kathy, with a dream, what advice would you give them today?
Figure out what you're really passionate about, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And don't be afraid of rejection. Listen when you get criticism, listen to it, because it can be a gift, even if it's wrapped in a nasty package. Learn from it and be able to discern the naysayers and just throw that away. But really recognize, the value that you're going to bring to the market. Know your business, understand your price to value ratio, know what you're doing. And I always dive deeply into the hows. When we first started with that single pair of socks, we began by conducting surprise factory inspections, because you learn a lot when you show up unexpectedly.
Oh,
And that's of critical importance, because we know that human trafficking is the fastest growing illegal business on earth today.
of course.
Unlike drugs, human beings are sold over and over. And when people are no longer profitable in the sex slave trade, they're often sold into forced labor. So
Yeah.
we need to know how our products are getting to market
Absolutely.
and how we're bringing value.
Has your manufacturing been affected by COVID at all? Obviously, I know that you gave a sit-down interview where you said that you guys were impacted by tariffs and the tariff war that was happening between the US and China. But have you guys struggled at all with the coronavirus pandemic and production?
You know, it's impacted some of our work, most definitely. I mean, I think it's impacted everyone. We've been diligently diversifying our manufacturing, working with our partners. Our company doesn't do any manufacturing ourselves, but we work with partners who do. And the ones who have made those moves are doing really well. The majority of our products are in the United States. We do have products made abroad as well. But something I would caution people is to know where your products are made and how. In Xinjiang, China, for example, that's where we have this horrific genocide of the Uyghur people. And we've got to really understand what we're doing, the footprint that it's making, and how it's impacting others.
Props to you and your team, because I know that so many people have been affected by this, so many businesses. But switching gears here, this is exciting news, Kathy. You've launched a major record label called Encore Endeavor One, EE1, through BMG. Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr.'s new album, Blackbird, Lennon-McCartney Icons, is now available. What is it about the music industry that inspired you to get involved?
Well, I love Billy and Marilyn. I mean, they are amazing people. And we're working with BMG. They're the fourth largest music company in the world and climbing. Incredible. A brilliant young man, Nick Mendoza, produced Blackbird. But we worked with BMG, with Janet Jackson, and brought them their first #1 with Unbreakable. And so they were thrilled to continue working with us, and we've got so much more ahead of us. But Billy and Marilyn, it's a true labor of love. And it's Blackbird, the Lennon-McCartney Icons, and Billy and Marilyn's voices are stronger than ever. And it's a beautiful tribute to love. There is so much division in the world today. There's so much that pits people apart. And we believe the greatest antidote to hate is love. And that's what
more
Billy
love and more hope now. The world needs hope and love now more than ever, it seems. But you teamed up, they're multi-platinum selling artists. I mean, they're big time. So I have to know, and I don't know if anyone's asked you this before, maybe you've gotten asked this before, but if somebody called you up to say, Kathy, we need you to model such and such on the runway a week from now, what would be your go-to catwalk song to walk out to? I have to know this.
Oh my goodness, my catwalk song. Well, one that's stuck in my head is Silly Love Songs. I love that. And that's on the album. So I
love that. All of my listeners and viewers, you need to go listen to that after listening.
Whatever your day is like, it puts a smile on your face.
I love that. That's so cute. I love that. Well, as a woman, as a woman who recently dived into the music industry, I feel like I'd be remiss to not get your take on this. And I have to bring it up because it is sort of like the elephant in the room, because the Scooter Braun versus Taylor Swift controversy was it was a big deal. It was like front page headline news when it was going on. And Taylor has been at the center of this convoluted feud over the issue of artist rights. She's been very vocal about it. Label owner Scooter Braun shelled out $300 million for Swift's former label, Big Machine, giving him ownership over Swift's first 6 studio albums. The feud has since been put to rest, but I think this, Kathy, it sort of ignites a bigger conversation. And meanwhile, you have like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They just sold the rights to their entire album catalog for, I think it was around 140 to 150 million. And then of course you have the Beatles. Their music was owned at a point in time by the king of pop, Michael Jackson. What's your take on artists taking ownership of their work? Where do you sort of fall in line with this?
It's such an individual thing, Jen. And I think, ownership and having control of your business and what you're doing, it's something that I enjoy. Some people don't enjoy that, but something that does, it just hurts my heart, especially for women. I see that most women in business, I'm beyond music, but in women in business, most of them end up selling their company and their name and
their life's work.
Control over your name. I mean, we're a private company. You mentioned Forbes. We love Forbes. We were building our brand under the radar for a very long time. And as a private person with a private company, and I can tend to be a bit shy. So being under the radar was great. And Forbes did let us know that they had been watching us and they were going to do a story with or without our support. So of course, there's an opportunity for my voice to be heard. I'd rather not be taken out of context. But it's I
get it. I've been in that exact same position. It's one of those tricky games with the media. They're going to run the story with or without your cooperation.
And they have the absolute right to, and I respect that. And I was grateful for the opportunity to have my voice heard. And I recognize also, Jen, in maturity that yes, we were building the brand under the radar, and having a publication like that out us, while it can be uncomfortable if you're used to doing things more quietly.
Right.
I'm so grateful for it because, Jen, you know what I've come to learn is that when we are blessed to be exposed to needs that are so much bigger than us and opportunity that is so much bigger than us, any personal comfort is irrelevant. And I'm grateful to be able to break through that shy and selfish shell of quietness. And I'm grateful you invited me today. If there's something that I can share that can encourage or support one of your audience members to go for it and to not give up. And I have more failures than we have time to even talk about. And when you fail, get up and get back out there. Don't
get back on the saddle.
What you're doing. Yes.
My Aunt Bev, my dear late Aunt Bev, she always used to tell me, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, baby girl. She lived in Texas and she always told me that. And whenever I faced hardship and experienced moments of crippling self-doubt, I always have to remind myself to just get back on the saddle, get back up.
Get back up. There's a lot of work to be done. So go do it.
I love that. Well, you said something interesting. You said when you get out of your comfort zone, like that's kind of where the magic happens, right? When you get out of that comfortable
zone. So boring. I've come to realize I don't want to be in there. I want to be challenged. I want to.
You want to be in the arena. You want to get I love Brene Brown is one of my, I adore, whenever I'm feeling down, I always go to her and I read her words. They just give me such comfort. And she has a great saying. It's like, hey, if you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. And I'm like, I love that. I love that. So kudos to you for being in the arena. But Kathy, I really do admire you because you did build a business empire with your own 2 hands. And I know that it was not easy. You experienced financial difficulties. You're very open about the rejection that you faced and various obstacles you endured on the path to success. Talk to me about rejection. You were quoted in an interview recently in which you said, one of the greatest gifts of my modeling career was rejection. You said that at the top of this interview, and I just wanted to circle back to that because I just think that that overall message, especially to the female demographic out there, it's just so important. Are you able to share a specific time when you were rejected that sort of caused you to question yourself and have some serious self-doubt? Like, were you ready to give up?
There's been a lot of tough days. Honestly, as far as giving up, I've had some hard days, but since I was a kid, I've been a fighter, and I can't honestly say that I ever actually felt like giving up. Maybe questioned, okay, which direction now? But a specific example, my long ago modeling career, that job description was shut up and pose. When I had a rare opportunity to speak, there was a critic who very publicly said I had a voice that could kill small animals. And I love animals, so that made me really sad.
And you're also on a podcast right now, and you have a lovely voice.
Thank you. But I have to tell you, Jen, I was 25 years old. I could not order a pizza on the phone. They thought I had a really high voice, so they thought I was a kid making a prank phone call. So I recognized that even though it was said in a not kind way, there was truth to it. And if I wanted to be taken seriously and not get those kind of mean comments, I needed to work on my voice a little bit. So that's just an example of rejection that's a gift.
Like you said, constructive criticism, but wrapped in mean packaging, like nasty packaging.
We've got to dig through that. And I also would encourage people, surround yourself with people who will support you and encourage you, because there are a lot of naysayers out there, and that will help you get through those tough days.
Yes, there's a lot of haters, a lot of doubters and naysayers. You have to surround yourself. I love the saying, have a circle around you that claps when you win, right? Because if your circle's not clapping when you win, find a new circle, get a different group.
Yeah, but you know what, Jen, I also have to say, I love support and encouragement. I also love when people love me enough to be honest and tell me the tough stuff. I don't want a bunch of yes people around me. I want people who are going to tell me how I can do better, how I can grow. An example, when I was getting ready to give my first business talk, I was really nervous and I wanted to hide behind the podium. And one of my business partners looked me in the face and he said, "You are so selfish. Get over yourself." Those people in the audience, I'm peeking out the curtain looking at them. It's like, they bought their tickets, arranged childcare and transportation. You know what that is. You have information. They need it. It's not about you. Go give it to them. So I mustered up my strength and I delivered my talk. And I noticed halfway through, about 3/4 of the audience had left. And I thought, oh, they probably have business meetings. It's something. And my team afterwards assured me, no, they did not. I was really bad and I had a lot of work to do. So I appreciate that. We have to grow. We have to get out there, grow and do better, not be afraid of failure.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Listen, we're all about being real on the Reinvented podcast. We're bringing on people from all walks of life, people who scored their first book deal at age 70 to, people who are just completely changing career directions and constantly reinventing. And I think constantly evolving, falling on your face. I mean, I love that you just shared that you were nervous, because I think when a lot of people look at a powerful, successful woman like you, they're like, oh, she's never nervous. Kathy's like, she poses in bikinis on magazine covers. So I think that is beautiful and just such a vulnerable thing to share. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Kathy, you had to fight prejudice in the business world coming over from the world of modeling. You were a powerful female transitioning to pretty much a male-dominated industry, and you had to fight for the integrity of your brand. What kind of prejudice or preconceived notions did you face as a model when transitioning to the world of business?
Thank you, Jen. And there are some people who would say, oh, well, it was easy for you to start your brand because you had this modeling career. And my response to that person is, you know what, if you have the gift of anonymity, that is a gift, because you can start your brand however you want with a clean slate. There were doors that were open to me because of that modeling career. However, they were not the right doors. They were doors of curiosity that ultimately wasted each other's time. My ideas as a CEO were not respected or even listened to. So it was really kind of a waste. But and there's that book, Lean In. There's some wonderful information there. However, when I started, there was no boardroom or table to lean into, or we had to build our own table. And
if you even had a seat at the table, if you were even invited.
We had to build, we had to build our own seats is what it is. Yep. And there has been a lot, and we've come a long way, and I'm grateful for that. One of my first sales meetings, and I love sales meetings because sales are the lifeblood of every business. Nothing happens without it. And I love meeting sales teams because they're on the front lines. We're selling as well. But we don't even think of it as selling because we believe in our products and services, and we know that they're really going to bring value to people and make their lives better. Otherwise, it doesn't make it into our brand. But when I had my first sales meeting in the furniture industry, I looked around the room and I noticed it was about 95% men. And it's like, and I asked somebody, where's all the women? Is this it? And I was told that's it. And so I said, well, I have a question. What percentage of your customers are women? And
that was your question?
That was my question. And they said, about 95%. And I said, well, what do you think about a little balance? I love the guys. I'm just saying balance, and it has improved, and that's wonderful. So I would encourage women, men, people of all different backgrounds, colors, races, don't let someone else's prejudice, ugly racism or bigotry, just don't let anyone put you in a box and tell you that you're not good enough. Don't let your circumstances define or destroy you. You fight through it. And, I share with people, I'm far too odd shaped. I don't fit in anyone's box, and I don't intend in getting in one. So just don't be alert and don't allow that to happen to you. And just, I believe in truth and love. So when somebody says something cruel or stupid, whatever it might be, it's an opportunity for teaching.
Absolutely. Wow. What a great answer. Women are told not to post photos that show too much skin because it might limit future career options. That drives me nuts, as I'm sure it does the same for you. But the world of modeling is filled with a number of biases, double standards, and dangerous predators. Kathy, I'm curious, what advice would Kathy Ireland today tell Kathy when she was in her 20s?
Oh, my goodness. Be alert and just know your value, recognize your value, and don't compromise. Don't be afraid, and just stand firm. Know what you believe, have conviction for it, know what you would walk away from, know what you would be fired over, and be open to learn and grow. And don't be afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't feel right.
In addition to all the roles you juggle, I thought this was so interesting, and I had to ask you about this. You're also in the CBD business, and you used, for people who don't know this, you used recycled hemp from your very own sock brand that you launched. What do you make of the growing, pun intended, presence of marijuana and CBD?
Well, yeah, that very first pair of socks that we designed and market made from hemp, and also in our rugs. So it's a product that we've been using for a very long time. And today we work with a wonderful company, Vertical Wellness, and They're out of Kentucky. They support our veterans, our military families, an amazing company, and in the health and wellness arena. For our company, we don't use THC, and so I don't really understand the controversy because we give our children grapes, we don't feed them wine. And it's a wonderful product. It's got a lot of great benefits to it.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. You've been fortunate enough to receive firsthand advice from billionaire investor Warren Buffett. You attend the Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholder meeting every year. I've covered Buffett's shareholder meeting for years on the Fox Business Network. Both Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they often refer to Bitcoin as rat poison. I'm not sure if you've read that, but it always makes me giggle. They're adorable. Last year, Buffett vowed to never own cryptocurrency. I just need to know, because we talked about CBD, we talked about marijuana. Are you, or have you at least considered investing in cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin or Dogecoin?
I'm always looking at different opportunities carefully and very carefully. And I do have great respect for Mr. Buffett and Mr. Munger. I met Warren Buffett through Irv Blumpkin of the Nebraska Furniture Mart, just incredible people. We have a newspaper tossing competition. But I like, as far as investments, diversification. And I like good, solid investments, and that's the way I go. Smaller amounts for the riskier, and I also like those slow and steady.
Yeah, but also diversification's the name of the game. I think that's a pretty solid answer. Okay, well now our viewers and listeners know where Kathy Ireland stands on Bitcoin, I guess. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. But Kathy, you were quoted in a recent interview saying something that really knocked my socks off. You said that you are unapologetically Christian. This is a direct quote. You said, "I'm unapologetically Christian. Many on our team are not, and that's absolutely fine because faith is personal. But I must say, for me personally, my first and last meeting of each day is with the Lord." Again, as a fellow Christian woman, that knocked me off my feet, mostly because women out there, especially public figures and celebrities, are a little hush-hush when it comes to discussing their faith. Why is being a Christian a non-negotiable for you?
Oh, Jen, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, my everything. Without him, I would not be here today. I have no doubt about that. And I don't seek to impose my faith on anyone. And as you mentioned, our team is, it's wonderfully diverse. And you can't impose your faith on another person. It is a personal relationship. God doesn't have grandchildren. It's for each person. And that's the foundation of my life. So I can never deny it. At the same time, I'm very careful. Here's where I'm careful. I never want to cause another person to stumble. There's a scripture in the Gospels that says, if anyone causes any of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better that a heavy millstone be hung around their neck and they be thrown to the depths of the sea. And whether intentionally or unintentionally, we just have to be so careful. And we have a for-profit business. We sell things. And there is this just awful prosperity gospel out there. And I would never want to get anywhere near that, to have somebody who might be vulnerable in their faith think, oh, well, if I buy her products, that somehow, as if you can get a brownie point or something. Our faith is, it's grace from God. It can't be earned or bought. It's that gift of what Jesus did on the cross for us. It's my foundation. It's everything. And without it, I'd be absolutely lost.
I really love that you shed some light on the hypocrisy, though, of Christianity, because I do think that there's some bad Christians out there that give.
Well, people can claim Christianity and in the name of God do horrific things. I believe Hitler said that he was a Christian. he was not. I mean,
You have to walk the walk, not just
it's,
talk it.
it is, it's devastating when that happens. And that's why it's so important. And Jen, I'm such a slow learner. I was 44 years old before I read the Bible in its entirety. And it is so easy to be taken out of context and twisted. And it was in the 1700s and the 1800s, after centuries of the church spiritualizing the word of God, that people started reading it literally. And that's where we had this strong movement of abolitionists recognizing that racism and bigotry is an abomination against God, because the throne of God is made up of every tongue, tribe, and nation. And it is an absolute abomination against his word, as well as anti-Semitism. And that's when we had people reaching out to the Jewish people to give them their homeland, when the persecution was so extreme and devastating. So reading it for yourself, not trusting what somebody else might be telling you, that's of critical importance.
I love that. That's crazy to me that you started reading the Bible when you were 44 years old. Wow.
I came to know the Lord when I was 18, because my mom stuck a Bible in my suitcase and I read it, and I was this rebellious teenager. We grew up with no faith at all. And my mom just came to know the Lord. And as I read, I just knew that what I was holding was the truth. And especially as a young woman out in a world that felt dominated by a lot of sketchy guys at that time, I was like, I want to follow him. And that was amazing.
You grounded.
Courage to walk away when something wasn't right. But yet, the very thing that led me to him, I would start to pick and choose. I'd read things that I didn't like, and I'd just say, well, that's a typo, or, that's a different translation thing. And I was trying to mold God into what I wanted him to be, rather than allowing him to mold me into the person he made me to be. I'm a slow learner. I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm so grateful for his grace.
That's what a beautiful sentiment. We're all flawed. We're all sinners, and thank goodness for his grace. But, they say to never discuss politics or religion on a first date with somebody. I'm sure you've heard that. I always do the exact opposite, because it's important to me to be with someone who shares the same values and the same beliefs as me. I've often had guys tell me that they feel intimidated by me. I've also been told by some that I'm like too much, quote, too much, which I'm sure you can relate to, Kathy, as a successful woman. I've always said, everyone wants to date a powerful woman until you realize you have to step up your own game. Like, you have to step up your own life. What advice, Kathy, would you extend to anyone out there dating, any young woman out there dating, who are told by men and or vice versa by somebody that, they're just too much? What would you say to that?
They probably are too much for that person.
For that person?
Yeah. So they need to find the right person who can step it up and be an equal. I have a wonderful opportunity. I'm so grateful for the work that we get to do. I serve on the board of the NFL PI. It's the licensing arm of the NFL, as well as an advisory board member to the the WNBA. It's just incredible to get to work with young people, with athletes, with people who are in such interesting stages of life, powerful people, strong people, both men and women. And be yourself. I mean, whatever you are doing in your life, whether you're an athlete, whether you are in business, whatever it might be yourself. Don't compromise. Don't try to hide and be someone else. And you won't be wasting each other's time. You'll find out if they can handle you or not.
Kathy, when you first started dating, I mean, come on, let's not sugarcoat. You were a big deal. You still are a big deal, but did you ever have any experiences, any trouble, any difficulty? Like were men a little intimidated by you when you started out dating?
You know, honestly, Jen, I didn't date that much. I met my husband when I was 23. And if men were intimidated by me, I think I was just oblivious to it if they were. So, and I really wouldn't have been interested in such a weak man anyway. If so, it would have been an issue. It just would have been, okay, we're not a good fit then.
I love that. Well, as we wrap up, Kathy, some people out there say that, people like to throw bricks at shiny things. Don't throw them back, collect them and build an empire. And that's exactly what you've done. Elizabeth Taylor, a lot of people don't know this, but Elizabeth Taylor is a great mentor of yours. What's the most influential piece of advice you ever received from her and why?
Elizabeth, amazing. Elizabeth became family. Her courage in the fight against AIDS when nobody would do anything. And it is so I would say to fight through it, no matter what. People hung up on her. She received death threats when she tried to fight against the HIV AIDS, that battle. And she didn't let any of it stop her. She just fought right through. It's a privilege today to serve as an ambassador for the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, as well as to serve as the International Youth Chair for the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. Every single day, 43 precious children are diagnosed with cancer. So I encourage everybody to support these wonderful organizations that are doing great and meaningful work. That was a lesson that I learned from Elizabeth. And just, fight through it. And you mentioned building an empire and just thinking about what it is that people need. And for me, what keeps it exciting is knowing that we can make a difference. For example, Ireland Pay, it's our credit card processing business, 51% goes to nonprofit. And with our company, something that we launched since the time of COVID is the Kathy Ireland Small Business Network. And this is in an effort to help small businesses not only survive, but thrive and scale. And everyone who joins our company, who works with us, they go through our list. We've got 10 initiatives for nonprofits, everything from fighting poverty, disease, to supporting education, our military and veterans and their families, as well as the fight on human trafficking. And everyone chooses one of these causes that they will support if we work together. And that inspires us to get up every day and to get out of bed. People say, why do you bother after all of this? We get to work with great people doing great things. UBS is a wonderful company we work with in support of our small business network. American Family Insurance. Oh my goodness. Talisa Yancey is just an incredible leader, along with Jack Salzwedel, great people. And it's dream fearlessly. That's their motto. And being able to work in the area of fintech is a passion. People saying, well, you can't work in fintech, you're a woman. That's like one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. That makes no sense.
I'll never forget the first time I went down to the New York Stock Exchange as a woman, and I've been down there working for many years. And it's like the guys, they kind of just turn and it's like they act like they've never seen a female before. But that's very funny that you get told that about working in fintech. And I think it happens across more industries than we think.
Right.
But you are certainly a trailblazer and just a philanthropy queen, and so many important causes that are near and dear to your heart. And I'm just so grateful for you and for your time today. And I just thank you, Kathy, for coming on Reinvented. And because you really, truly live you live this theme to a T. I mean, it really is your life, and you're constantly growing, constantly evolving, and you're always diving into something new and something different, just like the news of your record label, which is just so exciting. And I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders. And thank you for coming on Reinvented.
Thank you, Jen. It's been so much fun being with you. Thank you.
And to all my viewers and listeners, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. That's available wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, YouTube, you name it, it's there. I'm Jen Eckhart. That was Kathy Ireland. Thank you for listening to Reinvented.